Good to see all of you, and to see many also familiar faces for this event today. My name is Gautier Quéru. I'm managing director at Mirova, and I'm happy to moderate this session. The idea here is definitely not to only make the promotion of Mirova, even if it's always good, but it's really about discussing all together about how we can help the sector of funding, of investing in biodiversity and forestry, and more generally in developing the natural capital asset class to make it really a real sector that can really scale up. I think it's in the interest of nature, it's in interest of corporates, and it's in the interest of all parties involved in this great value chain of investment that is emerging, but that really requires also a good mapping and a good division of work. And this is what we will really focus on today. We will especially elaborate on the division of work between different operators in the value chain, from fund managers, but also speaking of project developers, about local operators, and all the ecosystem of service providers and players involved. Actually, I'm continuing and speaking as we are waiting for the third speaker who's just arrived. Hi, Junte. Welcome on stage. I was waiting for you to make the introductions. So next slide, please. Happy to have today two distinguished speakers. Ladies first, Charlotte Lehmann, Investment Director at Mirova. We've been working together for many years within Natixis Group, and Junte Wasmann from Aqre Group. Welcome. and I will, of course, give you the floor right after. But maybe to get started, next slide, please. I wanted to just, again, do a brief intro on Mirova, but more to share experience and elaborate on the growth and maturity of this natural capital market. Next slide, please. So really briefly, Mirova, we're a fund manager, part of Natixis Group. So meaning we are part of a large institutional and banking group, but really with the idea of mobilizing more capital towards sustainability in general. We have around 30 billion euros under management. And there is a map that you in normal times you should see, but we have offices around the world. But with most of the team is based in Paris, but we'll also have an office here in London, are active in the US, in Boston, and are opening offices also in Nairobi, in Singapore, and soon in Latin America. Next slide, please. Integrity is obviously very important to us, like it is for all of you here. The idea of green finance, sustainable finance, is to make it with strong convictions. And so we are a B Corp, mission-driven company, and we have developed all systems to ensure that, we avoid greenwashing and maximize impacts at scale. Next slide, please. And nature, biodiversity, forestry, is really a topic that we have decided to support and where we want to contribute to the growth of the sector altogether again. And we've done this through three main actions. One is the development of investment solution for nature-based projects. And so I'll elaborate a bit about the different funds we have and explain indeed how they work and how we work with other actors in the market. But we have also worked a lot on the methodologies, the measurement, the impacts on biodiversity, and this has been a topic discussed just before and yesterday. It's very important to have the ability to better understand and measure our impacts and dependencies on biodiversity. And finally, all the public and private collaboration with blended finance in the first place, but also with all of the international initiatives, including recently the TNFD, that requires strong coalitions, collaboration between public, private, and even civil society. And we are trying to play our role in that space. Next slide, please. So speaking of nature, speaking of biodiversity, is of course a challenge, but like everyone understands here also, it's definitely an opportunity. And in the space of investment in nature, we have developed three main sectors and with different funds in that space to address the challenges and the opportunities first in the conservation and restoration of nature. So here we're speaking really about pure, I would say, ecosystem protection, restoration, and the business model as an investor is really relying on carbon credits. It's a buzzword here. Biodiversity credits, certificates are coming as well, and there is really value to be created and impact to be generated with projects and models that consist in generating these types of environmental assets. So this is growing a lot. And it's great to see so many people also today committed to these topics. But nature is also about some productive activities. In the blue economy space, we're also active in investing in sustainable fisheries, sustainable aquaculture, and all the marine ecosystems are also key in the protection of nature. So let's not forget the ocean. And finally, sustainable land use, all the productive activities related to wood production, cocoa, coffee, and so many commodities that we all depend on needs to be produced in a sustainable way, and even with regenerative potential, with regenerative agriculture, agroforestry, that is really another area of investment based on the productive activities. And we think that all of these three pillars are meant to grow in terms of asset class, not only at Mirova, but collectively. And there are so many players already involved and coming that it's super encouraging to see the momentum in the market for the past years. Next slide, please. And speaking of the past years, actually, there is a lot of innovation, a lot of new players, startups, which is stimulating all the nature-based ecosystem, and it's, again, very stimulating. But actually, we should not reinvent the wheel and leverage on so past activities. And for the younger people here, there has been a carbon market at the beginning of the year 2000 that has been very dynamic. And actually, being old enough now, I can share my experience as I was part of, at Mirova, of the European Carbon Fund back in 2005, when really we initiated, and with many other players in the market, this investment in carbon funds, in carbon credits under the Kyoto Protocol, that has really led to the development of a real sector, and we will elaborate on this after. And based on this experience, we continued the journey, and with the Althelia Climate Fund, that was a pioneer in REDD+ project and the fight against deforestation, started in 2012. Then we developed the Land Degradation Neutrality Fund with the UN in 2015, and there has been clearly an acceleration over the past years with the mobilization of corporates committed to value chain improvement, and also beyond value chains actions. And we have the honor to work with L'Oréal, who's in the room, with Orange, and more recently also with other corporates, including Kering, L'Occitane, that are mobilizing more resources to the topic of protecting, restoring nature with the different business models I mentioned. Next slide, please. And this is just to say that there is really a long-term track record now available, and a sector that is really accelerating. And we see actually two main types of investments and activities emerging, really funding within the value chains of corporates. We need to transform the way that primary production is made in the field of food and fiber production. And we need to bring more capital to transform the value chain, make it deforestation-free, make it sustainable, and with the Land Degradation Neutrality Fund and similar fund focusing on productive activities, we're helping this transformation. But there is a need to go beyond value chain, and this is where the Carbon Fund, the Nature Fund are also helping a lot in financing also impactful projects. And then there can be hybrid funds mixing also these dimensions, or the financial returns or the carbon credits returns. There are obviously different models, but definitely an asset class emerging. Next slide, please. Yeah. So that was just, again, an intro, not just to say how great Mirova is, but more to say that there has been really already a track record, a history, and we see real trends emerging. But we need to do more. We need to work all together to help and build a real ecosystem, and even more than an ecosystem, a sector that it will become massive for investment, for job creation, and for impact on nature. And this is really the topic I would like to discuss also with the two panelists here, and I will sit down now a bit, where we need to better understand also how we can even better work together, maximize the role of everyone for maximizing the benefits and allocating efficiently the investments. So next slide, please. And before going to questions, here is just a mapping. Actually, we made a few years ago, but when attending this conference, I think there are many players, many partners missing. But what I want to mention is that over the past 10 years, there's been a lot of bridges built between public, private, civil society organization to better collaborate on the topic of nature, to better transfer the expertise of course the NGOs, civil society, of the UN and international initiatives, of public investors, of corporates, and of impact funds. And obviously, within the ecosystem, we should definitely add so many good standards, service provider for measurement, also that value chain players that help and bring trust in the sector. And so it's about really connecting the expertise to ensure we do collectively things right. But the one topic where I would like to now focus on is really within the investment value chain. And that's the next slide, please. Actually, between the capital, so on the right-hand side, made available either by institutional investors, either by corporates committed to nature positive, to net zero on the right-hand side, and to the local operators on the ground that protect and restore nature. We need to ensure that there is a real solid value chain to allocate the capital efficiently and to maximize the return on investment. And when I speak of return on investment, I'm speaking of potentially, financial return, but or even more impact returns, so to maximize the use of capital for nature. And this is where we believe that, indeed, again, there is an ecosystem of different players, but in this chain of capital allocation, we believe the fund managers and the project developers are two key players that need to be even better framed in their mission and to grow and to in order to scale up the asset class. So first questions to my panelists, to Charlotte. We see in this allocation of capital the need ultimately to provide efficiency in the value chain and integrity. This is really what is required from both sides. How do you see this being implemented at a fund manager level? And also, what is the role of project developers in this work as fund manager?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gautier. So as you mentioned, I mean, we're talking about bridges between the right-hand side of the slide and the left-hand side. And typically, the fund manager needs to play also this role. And the two keywords that you mentioned, efficiency and integrity, are key in the way we see our business and we see the way we want to be active into this overall sector. So, and to enter more into detail, so efficiency, what we put under this world is, I would say, twofold. So the first thing is the mutualization of expertise, and typically within Mirova, we have built a team of experts coming from several horizons, from DFI, specialist of microfinance, investment analyst, carbon expert, because as Gautier was mentioning, I mean, carbon is not new. I mean, we've been trading and working with carbon credits, I mean, since quite some time now, and also biodiversity experts in order to be in a position to offer an efficient solution for the full asset class. And the second point also in terms of efficiency is the economy of scale. So thanks to this mutualization and this expertise that we have in-house, we want to achieve this economy of scale in order to actually achieve the goal that we have and to scale up the overall asset class. And how we do that by being really trying to standardize, to organize the way we invest, the way we work with the project, the way we actually invest into the project. And standardization is also both on the legal side. I mean, I know we've discussing about lots of acronyms, but here's another one. So in the VERPA contract, for instance, so the voluntary emission reduction purchase agreements, how we want to standardize them in order to accelerate the process of investment and also to scale up more quickly, actually. And the second key word is that you mentioned, Gautier, is integrity. And integrity is obviously key, because without integrity, we will not be able to scale up and we will not be able to onboard all the actors that you saw on the previous slide, notably. And how do we deal with integrity? Again, it's twofold. So the first one is being a regulated entity. We have KYC process. We have portfolio management process. We have risk process. We have power and counterpower within Mirova as an investment manager, and it is key to ensure integrity throughout the chain of the investment chain. And the second is that due to this mutualization of expertise and the fact that we have lots of a great team, we do our we challenge and we do in terms of the ESG analysis that we are doing on every project in which we decide to invest. And by this challenging, it's effectively challenging and ensuring robustness of every component of the project. And in the last panel, the word robust was mentioned, and it's key because we need to ensure that the component of the project, from the biodiversity enhancement, the social impacts, and also the carbon baseline, is something that needs to be really robust in order to ensure integrity and permanency of everything we're doing by investing into nature regeneration. So that the two elements that we are ensuring as a fund manager by doing the and fostering and helping fostering capital into nature, and to maybe bridge again with a project developer, how we work with project developer, and which is key for us as well, is we try to again work with project developers that would at their level ensure as well this efficiency and this integrity, to promote that and to have a full chain of efficiency, integrity. I mean, I've been repeating this word too much, but and how at the project developer level, maybe as the designing properly the project, monitoring data, ensuring appropriate communication with local implementer, making the link again with social with communities on the ground, and putting MRV implementation on the ground, etc. So in order to not to I would say in a way to co-construct, and I really want to insist in this word as well, is the co-construction that we are putting in place with project developer, because our it's not that we are investing and then we just leave the project developer alone. It's more we are here to help them. And another acronym, we are putting ASAP in place, for instance, so environmental and social action plan that we are developing hand by hand with the project developer to ensure the permanency of the impact, and also ensure the viability of the project from an impact perspective, but also, and that would remind the efficiency on the economic perspective, to be sure that the project will not stop in 20 years and be a long-term partnership, a long-term partner, sorry, for developing and ensuring this permanency on every aspect.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, for these explanations. And indeed, we have outlined on the slide this what we think is a relevant division of work. You know, through the value chains. Of course, it's subject to commons improvement, and it's just a a sector that is being created and in the making. But definitely at Mirova, we are trying to play our role as fund manager to with as much additionality and added value as possible. But indeed, as Charlotte was mentioning, we need also to have solid project developers, ambitious project developer, talented project developer working with us. And actually, we have the pleasure to have one of them today, Junte, Aqre Group, who has been active especially in Madagascar, in the field of natural capital, agroforestry, working also with smallholders. It's about nature, but it's also a lot of social aspects. Junte, would you like first to present yourself and explain also what you do and how you are able to develop good projects on the ground?
Thank you, Gautier. Yeah, so Aqre Group is a group of 2 companies, basically with operations in Madagascar in natural ingredients. So we have 2 factories, and we are developing, I would say, 3 main products. One is Artemisinina, where we work with 20,000 smallholder farmers. A plant called Artemisia. There's a molecule in it. We process that molecule in our factories, and we distribute it in the international market, mainly to India. And the 2 other ones are quinine. Quinine is the bitter flavor taste in tonic water. So we are building an integrated value chain where we have the factory in place. Also funds from Mirova that we could expand this factory, and to build like a plantation of 4,000 hectares of cinchona trees. Third product is centella, and centella is basically an ingredient comes like molecules out of it, but ingredients for creams, mainly for companies like L'Oreal.
And so, indeed, you're more active these days in the value chain component that I mentioned, even if I assume carbon credits, nature credits is also a topic of interest for your companies.
Yeah.
What you've been able to develop in addition to the factories, I mean, concrete impact on the ground by planting more trees, by restoring lands, and also working with smallholders. What have been the challenges you've met and how you could overcome them, and how this role as project developer and the partnership with the fund has been also helpful to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, of course, in such an environment, you have a lot of difficulties. If you work with 20,000 smallholder farmers, that's not easy to basically collect all the raw materials and get them to the factory. But if I'm going to, for example, our partnership, what I see, because you, like Mirova, invested in 2022, one thing I hear the word integrity. For me, that is like long due diligence process, but very, very, very good, because once you are now on board, we see really the added value that you are there. For example, the loan agreement that we signed is an 8-year loan agreement with 3-year grace period on principal, what helps us a lot to develop really our project. Second, for example, also like your what you mentioned, like the environmental and social program that we put in place, and that is helping us again, for example, with clients that we have, because for example at the moment we're signing a 3-year contract with L'Oreal. I don't know if you know that, but but that is only because we are doing ethical sourcing, and that is basically I would say like a combination of collaboration between the fund manager with the company and then with our clients.
Yeah. And by the way, I think there is a slide, next slide please, about the project. But I really encourage you to look at, I mean, Aqre website, the next one please, and the concrete results they've been able to have in Madagascar, which is also a country with high challenges, but again with the right processes in place, and indeed sometimes long due diligence, but we need to do things right. But then a solid partnership, we are able to transform really a challenge that Madagascar is facing into an opportunity to develop added value supply chains that can really deliver concrete impacts on the ground. I know we are now maybe running late. I'm happy to open the floor to questions, but really in a nutshell, the idea is to say, let's continue the effort all together, mobilizing more capital, allocating more efficiently, dividing the work, and above all, having a collaborative approach to scale up the asset class. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Hi, I'm Dan Kwiatkowski. I was wondering, what steps do you think need to take place for pension funds to become active in this area and get that real sort of boost in terms of capital? Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. And indeed, I think part of the Kunming-Montreal agreement adopted last year really mentioned the need to mobilize much more capital from the private sector, and a lot of capital is in the hands of pension funds. They have allocation and investment strategies, and I would say there are two elements that are needed to attract more of this capital. One is better understanding of the risk-return profile of the underlying assets. The market is getting more and more mature, but the track record is still a bit limited, but we need to share more data. At Mirova, we try really to publish as much as we can. We have our reports on the portfolios of the investment mates to better assess the risk profile, and ultimately, ideally, have risk ratings that are by Fitch, by Moody's, or that can really help the large pension funds understand the risk profile. And until this is really fixed, blended finance can help a lot. So bringing public money to de-risk a bit these private investors, to really compensate for the unknowns, I would say. And the second dimension is the size. Usually single investment tickets by pension funds is in tens or even in hundreds of millions. And we need the depth in the market to absorb such amounts and have much larger funds. But that's why really the scale up of the asset class is needed, is to show robust fund manager, robust project developers, robust service provider, so that we can collectively absorb the massive investment needed. So risk and size. Any other questions over there?
Hi, Mike Yu with TNC. How do you ensure that your organization is taking enough risk, that you're pushing the boundaries and doing things that are additive that other people can't do? And are there examples of projects or regions that are on the margin you consider too risky right now, but that in a certain world with demand or blended capital that you could see getting there?
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult question and hard to answer. And all the question of the additionality of the, I think the experience, and I will turn to also Junte, shows that even if there could be kind of equation or clear criteria to define which is our additionality, added value, is it a frontier market or not? But I think the experience shows that raising funds for a land-based project, nature-based project is attracting interest, but hard to also obtain. And Junte, you want to share your experience in raising funds? I don't feel we've been competing ourselves with tens of competitors. There is limited resources these days.
No, 100%. And because we are also, our operations are in Madagascar, that limits out a lot of investors already. It's not their scope of investment. So we were very happy to find Mirova. Also on your question of risk taking, if we look to our operations, we are a company around 10 million in revenues, still a business model that is still growing. But also we are acting in the international market. So we are competing with, for example, China and with India. So some projections that we had are not made. And if I see the risk that Mirova takes to be on a partner on board from our project, that is fantastic to see, because we have to already adjust a bit our business model. And they are acting there as a partner. So I think there they take quite substantial risk and helping the portfolio company, and that is of course Aqre Group, a lot.
I think we are. Thank you, Junte. I think we are done with the time allocated. Just one last slide, just to share insights. In order to build an asset class, we need to share knowledge, and I just sharing a few publications that we liked recently. Of course, the Mirova one, but very other good ones from CIFB, from the Climate Week, and also this other from the Wharf about voluntary carbon market. And again, common understanding, knowledge sharing is also key in building the asset class. So looking forward to continuing the exchange at the coffee break. Thank you very much.